All right. Listen, thanks everybody for joining us. This is the Amit Darji show. I'm gonna be selfish today, very selfish, because I got her on here because there's things that I want to pick her brain about. Lillian Chukwueze.
Yes.
Did I pronounce it correctly?
Chukwueze, but close enough.
Let's redo that. Lillian Chukwueze. Lillian, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Lillian, and I was actually born in New York, raised in New Jersey, currently now living in Philly, but moving back to New Jersey. So I'm a real estate agent and investor. Started out wholesaling real estate, which is how I met Amit. We actually met on a rehab tour, which was really cool.
Yep.
I'm just all about real estate. Previously, just to give a little background, I played professional basketball, and while I was out there, I took a lot of time to learn different skills and everything like that, and real estate was always in the back of my mind. So when I came back from overseas, I just dove headfirst into real estate, and now here I am a couple years later.
Awesome. I'm interested to learn a little bit more about this professional basketball. I was reading the book. By the way, guys, she has written a book which we're gonna dive into, okay? But I want to first hear about this basketball stuff because I'm a diehard basketball fan. I played, I coached in high school, coached a little bit in college. So yeah, you got to expand a little bit more on that.
So I guess let me give you a little background. So when I was in high school, I was a good player in high school, but I didn't really peak more, I guess, get better until like college. And that's when I started to kind of get on the radar more and just be more serious about things. So I actually first played my first 2 years at Rutgers Camden, and then I transferred to Goldie Beacom College for my last 2 years. And that's kind of when I started to dedicate myself to this overseas journey. I knew I wanted to play professional, whether it would be the WNBA or overseas. It didn't really matter to me. I just wanted to play pro ball. So when I went out to Spain, and funny enough, how I got my contract is from networking. You've been already doing it. You know,
you have to get it out. You have to get it out.
That's all I do is network. So I actually knew a girl who was over there. We played on a summer league team together, and her team happened to be looking for a shooting guard, and I was like, hey, can I send you my resume? Can I send your coach? And she was like, yeah, send me like your film, everything like that. So she sent it to her coach, and her coach really liked me. Of course, I had to go out there and perform, but that was my first opportunity to go overseas. And so I spent my first year, both years that I was out there, I was with the same team in Almeria in Spain. And so my second year, we actually won the championship, and I was like, all right, I think I'm good, so it's time for me to retire.
Oh, really? I thought you wanted to continue. I thought you would continue wanting to pursue it, considering you won the chip.
I did. We won, but it was just like, listen, I wanted to make more money. On top of that, injuries was kind of getting to me a little bit, and I was just like, you know what? Let me hang it up. And get to this real estate money.
So is that, now you had mentioned that, as I read in your book, you grew up in a family that kind of was already in that real estate space. Talk a little bit more about that.
So my dad, both my parents came from Nigeria.
Okay.
So my dad came, and I don't know at what point that he acquired the first rental, but basically we were always in real estate because we were always working on stuff. So our second house that we moved into, I think that actually was his first investment property. It was a 5-unit.
Oh, nice.
So we moved into one portion. So we moved from Staten Island, New York to Roselle, New Jersey. So we moved into one unit, and we were renting out all the rest. But in between that, we would fix up all the units all the time.
Okay.
Somebody moves out, you go in there, you fix it up.
Oh, yeah.
Bought that, and then he bought another one, and another one, and another one. So we were always, me and my brothers would spend our weekends working on these properties. Can you imagine, as kids, we hated it.
Wow.
Hated it.
You love it now.
Yeah, I'm talking about putting up sheetrock, doing flooring, painting, all this stuff that kids could kind of do. We didn't touch mechanical stuff, but we did a lot of stuff. So we grew up pretty much doing the work for his rental properties. And so looking back, I'm like, wow, that's such a valuable skill to learn. But now it's like I would never want to do any construction.
Listen, I agree with you. So I'm handy myself. Like I can, like as you can see, I can do things, right?
Yeah.
But what I've learned or realized is like this is not a value add.
Yeah.
Like the whole point of at least my goal or my vision is to buy back time.
Yes.
So now like every opportunity that comes or any situation, I always look at it and ask myself, does this eat up my time, or does this allow me to have more time to do the things that I really want to do, like, you know, travel, spend time with my wife and my kids, be in parts of projects that I really have a passion for.
Yes.
So yeah, no, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. And that's why I told you that's why I'm trying to outsource certain things in my business now, because I'm realizing what takes up the most time and what actually makes sense for me to actually put my time into.
Right,
you
right.
know? So yeah, I mean that's how we've been involved in real estate for pretty much ever.
Okay. So then, so basketball, then you came back home, real estate. Now, was there a gap in between where you did some marketing for agency? Like, did you do that after you got home from Spain? Yeah.
So right after I came home, there was a gap before I got started in real estate. So I started doing a lot of like social media marketing while I was in Spain.
Okay.
And then when I came back, I was like, you know, on the floor, like ground floor, like just going to different like places and like pretty much getting business. So so I started doing some social media marketing for fitness companies, fitness gyms, because I used to also work at a gym. And then I started doing it for like basketball professionals and like motivational speakers and like yoga instructors. So I did a lot of social media management and like video editing. So I was doing a lot of videography too. So basically I was doing that for like a year, and I was working a job. And then I came across real estate. I came across wholesaling. I always knew I wanted to get in real estate, but wholesaling is what I specifically came across.
Okay.
And funny enough, my brother also came across it at the same time. So we were going back and forth. Like he came up, he found Max Maxwell, I found Mark Whitten. And I was like, oh man, like this is great. He was like, oh, like I came across this too. And we started going back and forth. So that's pretty much that's when I got into that. And I was like, instead of like doing marketing I know real estate is my long-term plan. Yeah. So instead of doing like digital marketing for these other companies and businesses, let me just do it for real estate. And the reason why I got into digital marketing is because I like being virtual. Like that's the one, as a business that you can run from anywhere. Social media marketing / digital marketing, running ads, managing accounts. You can do that from anywhere. So that was the main reason why I got into that. And I was just like, okay, let me apply these same skills and knowledge that I have in digital marketing for real estate. But funny enough, I didn't do it right away because I wanted to keep it simple. When I first started following Max and everything, he was like, listen, like cold call. Yeah. That's how
I started out too, cold call.
Yeah. Like keep it simple, don't try to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
You can make money if you cold call. So that's what we did, and that's how we got our first couple deals. And I was like, okay, well, it might work. So let me not try to do too much.
Like they say, like, you know, that first deal, right? Like it's not like a financial game changer, like so to say. I mean, some can be, don't get me wrong, but it's like a proof of concept.
Yes.
Like, oh my God, I went through 100, 200, 300 no's, finally got a yes, and now I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So what did you learn about marketing when you were working for these agencies that's helping you now?
Oh my God, I learned that people do not understand marketing.
Well, that's why you're here, of course, right? Listen, I'm telling you, I'm going to be very extremely selfish today. So yeah, you're yes, this show is for you guys, of course. But I pick her brain so much, texting, emails, social media. Like I'll hit her up on Instagram, like, oh, what are you doing with this or that? So guys, we're gonna get into some nitty gritty stuff here today, for sure.
So yes, I learned that people just don't understand marketing, like very, very simple things. But again, you know, that's just not your specialty or whatever. So what I learned when I was doing social media marketing and digital marketing is that, one, you have to have a social media presence. I think everybody knows that, but I don't think people know how to have a presence. And that's what a lot of people struggle with, and not even to talk about. So there's two parts of it. There's the organic social media marketing, and then there's the paid side, which are when you're running ads and everything like that. That's a whole nother ballgame. Like Facebook ads, Instagram ads, like all that stuff that you actually need to like learn about all that before you start putting money into it. Yeah. So
the hard way.
Yeah, exactly. Or you just put money into it, lose it, whatever. So yeah. So for right now, like I've just learned. I always understood the importance of having a presence.
Right.
I think now what the difference is the level of consistency that I'm putting behind it, and the growth that I'm starting to get from that.
Yeah, I want to touch on that real quick. So when she says the consistency part, so when Lillian started her social media, especially YouTube, and we're gonna get into that, I noticed 0 subs to 1, 3, 5, growing, and I just every day I'd follow, I'd watch, and the proof is in the pudding. Her consistency has really built up to where she's at. She's gonna, we're gonna deep dive into that a little bit. No, but for sure. So it helped you kind of navigate to also being niche focused too, right?
Yes.
Like, so
yes.
Kind of
and that's another thing. Yeah. So when I was doing the marketing for other companies, I was all over the place.
Yeah.
Like I was within fitness, but like then I started doing motivational speakers, basketball players versus yoga instructors is very different. Like it's all very different. So I got really, really niche when I started to get on YouTube. And that was specifically, funny enough, it was specifically about wholesaling. So that's when I started to build an audience.
All right.
Then I became licensed and I realized like, okay, I need to incorporate being an agent, because essentially being an agent, I got licensed because wholesaling slowed down. This is during COVID.
Yeah.
And I was just like, listen, well, I got to supplement my income somehow. And I'm like, all right, well, being an agent can definitely help me do that, depending on how you go about it. So I became an agent and I was like, okay, I need to incorporate this with my YouTube and my social media and everything like that. And I guess once I started doing that even more, like just like incorporating the real estate agent but still kind of putting the wholesaling behind it, is things just started to take off. And I started posting my YouTube videos like 3 times a week. Mm-hmm. That's how I started getting some traction. Then I went down to 2 times a week, and as of the last like 2 or 3 weeks I only posted like once, because I was working on my ebook. Right. And I was like, it's hard when you're only one person, you don't really have a team in place. So I had to take a step back from that. But now I'm back up to posting this week, and back up to 2 times a week. Okay. My goal is to get to 3 times a week, but I gotta hire another editor. So I told you about that.
Yeah, definitely. There were some neat things that you talked about in your book. And guys, the book is titled "The Ultimate YouTube Guide for Real Estate Agents to Close More Deals Without Cold Calling." And listen, cold calling is you gotta have it. You gotta have a thick skin. You have to have. I remember the first time I sat down, put the headset on, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna cold call. I had like knots in my stomach. My heart was in my throat. I was sweating, and I had just dialed. Like I hadn't even gotten anybody on the line yet. And I was just like feeling over, because it's not something that I grew up with. Yeah. And I mean, many of us really don't grow up in that. Like, most of us probably go to school, get an education and just kind of work those kinds of jobs. But that whole sales thing is a different game. I mean, now it's different. I don't care.
Yeah,
let's go get it. Let's go get it.
Yeah, but I mean, same thing with me. When I first started cold calling, because I cold called for 2 years when I was wholesaling. Right. And we talked about it when we met. But yeah, I mean, cold calling sucks. Like, it's never comfortable. You have to go through thousands of people to get a deal. You have to. Like, people hit me up wholesaling now. They're like, yeah, so like I called like 10 people, and like everybody's just saying no. Are you sure this thing works? And I'm just like, 10 people. You gotta
add a couple more zeros to that.
Yeah,
you gotta go way deeper than that.
Go way deeper. I'm talking about being on the dialer for hours at a time. Like, you gotta, 100%. You should shoot for a certain amount of no's before you even think about a yes. Like, it's so crazy.
And you know what happens? People just see the results. And they don't see all the effort and hard work that went into getting that one deal. Yeah. And I think as more people start talking about that, and YouTube being a platform where people are able to express those things, I think a lot of people will get a better understanding of the work ethic, the time, and the dedication that's required. Yeah. So I want to ask you a question. Okay. Why YouTube? Why did you start with YouTube over the other social media platforms?
So I already had a presence on like the other platforms. Okay. But YouTube is a long-term play. So I started going harder on YouTube because I was like, listen, if I want to grow like some type of online side to my business, it's gonna be through YouTube, because the audience can connect with you more because you're spending more time with them. If they're watching a 10 to 12 minute video of you, they feel like they can connect a little bit more with you than a 10-second clip on Instagram.
Okay.
Both are good.
Yeah.
But for the longer play, YouTube, you can sell more things, so you can build a more viable business on YouTube.
Okay.
And so yeah, I was kind of thinking about the long-term play, and also I just wanted to start delivering more value, more like long form value.
Okay.
And I just felt like YouTube is the way to go, especially like I know it's a process because it takes time, but like I said, long term, I know in a couple months, couple years, I can have a very consistent YouTube.
And the thing, one of the things with YouTube, at least that I've kind of picked up on, is that obviously I think Google owns it, right?
Yes.
So it has SEO, search engine optimization. So tell us a little bit more about that, like how you feel that is a little bit more beneficial than what you just kind of do on like Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or something.
So yeah, the search engine optimization part about it is probably the most significant part about being on YouTube, because people go on YouTube for different reasons that they go on Instagram, right? Like when you go on YouTube, it's just like Google, where you're specifically searching for a solution to something.
Yeah, you know, when I was reading your book, I was thinking about that. I asked myself, when do I go to YouTube? When I have something that I need solved. Like for example, I like doing handiwork, right? Like building things. My own leisure time though. Not under the gun. But like I had built a smoker. Well, I still have it, but I never knew how to weld.
Yeah.
So I watched probably a good 3 hours of just videos of people welding.
Yep.
I would have never have thought to go to Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok for that solution.
Exactly.
Just like Google, right? Like when you go to Google, you're searching for something, something specific.
Yes.
So
exactly.
I agree with you.
So when you're on YouTube and somebody's searching for, how to buy a house in Philadelphia, and they see me pop up, they're like, oh, well, she must know what she's talking about. If they watch the whole video and they feel confident in what I'm saying, they're like, oh, she must know what she's talking about. Let me reach out to this agent.
Then you become like an authority.
I have so many stories about that. Like, I'm telling you, it's kind of like funny because you're realizing like you're kind of becoming a celebrity in real time.
Yeah.
So it's like I've had many people reach out to let me not gas it up. Not many, but
she's lying. I know.
I've had a couple reach out to me where a couple people are like, oh, like this one lady, she called me. She's like, oh my God, I didn't think you were gonna pick up. Like I saw you on YouTube. I really want to buy a house in Philly. I'm like, yeah, I would pick up. I tell you to call me in my YouTube.
Right.
But I can see why she's like kind of a little shocked. And then I've had other people just have emailed me and they're like ecstatic that I got back to them, and just like, you do become a local celebrity, like
absolutely.
It's
only a matter of time before people start approaching you. You know, when you're at Starbucks or something, like, oh my God, it's Lillian.
Yeah. I had somebody say that.
See, yeah.
Another agent. Oh, crazy story. This agent came to one of my wholesaling meetings back then. I hosted a meetup for a wholesaling meetup a while ago, and I wasn't an agent at the time. But when I became an agent, I actually reached out to the same girl, not knowing that she was at my meetup. Okay. So I was like, hey, like I need help. I want to refer you a deal if you can take care of this deal. Right. I have so many leads. So she was like, is this Lillian from YouTube? And I was like, what? That was her first words. Like when I called her, I'm like, yeah, I guess.
So it's working. It's working. What you're doing is working.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, like I came to your meetup. I was like, oh wow, like that's crazy. Like so full circle. But yeah, it's like you do kind of become like this little local celebrity, and it's kind of cool. You know, I'd rather have local clout than like, people think I'm like this crazy.
So, all right, I've decided to start a YouTube channel.
Yes.
Where do I begin? Like where do I start? What do I have to do if I want to be like you? I want to be like Mike, and I want to be like you. What do I have to do? Teach me.
All right, so my first recommendation, and I put this in my book, but you need to figure out who you want to speak to, who's your audience. Because when I started my channel, I actually didn't think about that. I was just thinking about just documenting my journey. I was like, let me just put it out there, see what comes. But would it make it easier for you if you figure out who you want your audience to be? So like with the realtor, you have kind of like two different audiences. You have, well, a couple different. You have your buyers, right? The people that are looking to buy properties. Then you have your sellers. People are looking to sell properties. For me, the way I started my channel was, wholesaling. So I was kind of talking to other wholesalers, and then I kind of turned it into wholesalers becoming real estate agents and starting to deal with like those type of people.
Okay.
So it was more of business to business rather than business to consumer, because the consumers would be the buyers and the sellers. So you got to figure out who you want your audience to be and start making content around that. You figure out what are their challenges, what are they interested in, what they want to hear about, and you start making content around that, because if you start just putting out videos, it kind of gets confusing if you're all over the place.
Yeah, so something that really caught my attention in your book is you said that it's not about the metrics, it's not about the number of followers, right? Does that make a play? Yes, in the sense like, okay, you can generate ad revenue, so on and so forth. But if the goal is to generate leads,
yes,
then that's a whole different dynamic that you talked about. And I mean, I must have read that sentence like 3 or 4 times the other day. And I'm just like, here I am, I'm thinking about starting a YouTube channel and wanting to do it. And I'm just like, well, am I gonna get followers? Am I gonna get this? But the reality is like, who is your audience?
Yes.
So like, I guess another word is like the avatar, right? Like who are you trying to target? So like when you were doing that, did you write down anything to, hey, like this is the box and this is the kind of people that I wanna attract to me, that I want to do business with?
So yeah, so when I started, I did not write down my avatar.
Okay.
Like I said, it was just kind of, I just put it out there. I do think it's better to start with an avatar, because along the way I started realizing I would get confused with my own channel. I'm like, well, who am I talking to? and along the way you realize like, okay, what content do I post?
Okay.
Figuring out who your avatar is will help you figure out what content you need to post, because you'll be like, oh, okay, they're having a problem with this issue or this issue. Let me make a video about that. But like when you're all over the place, you're like, well, I'm gonna make a video about this, and then you're like, oh, like a lot of people didn't like look at it or view it or comment on it, and you're like, why? But it's because you're all over the place.
Right.
Like earlier in my YouTube career, I made videos about wholesaling. I also made videos about like being an entrepreneur, and like I made a video about like reasons why you should take cold showers. And I'm like, this is
has nothing to do
I was
with
like, this is
real estate.
really, really off. Like, I was like, but in my mind, I connected it like, okay, being an entrepreneur, you take cold showers. These are the benefits that come along with it.
Yep.
But like in reality, like that's not necessarily what my audience wants to see. They want to hear about wholesaling. They want to hear about real estate, being an agent, everything like that. So if you do narrow down and figure out who your ideal client is, your avatar, it just makes it easier for you to determine what content that you need to put out there that's actually going to serve your audience, because you're still serving somebody. You need to serve your audience.
So you mentioned that you create your content for like business to business, right?
Yeah.
Like other agents,
other wholesalers.
So tell us a little bit about what that avatar for you in your branding and your marketing, what does that avatar look like?
So my avatar was actually me, right? So like I started out wholesaling, and then I became a licensed agent, because that's a route that a lot of wholesalers are taking because of all the rules and regulations coming into play and everything that. So I'm like, all right, well, I know there's a lot of other wholesalers that I've connected with throughout my time wholesaling who are also thinking about being an agent. So let me start making content around that. So right now my avatar is really people who are formerly wholesalers, becoming agents, and just newer agents. So that's pretty much who I attract, and that's why I've been able to kind of continue to build like my downline for EXP and things of that nature. So I mean, my avatar is just wholesalers who want to get into being a real estate agent, and just newer real estate agents who want to just learn the game a little bit more.
Okay, so niche focus is important.
Yes.
Right? What about now? All right, so you've kind of, let's say, identified the avatar. You've kind of, created that profile of who you're trying to.
And also with my avatar, newer real estate agents who want to utilize social media.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, all right, I'm going to pick your brain a little bit about my own stuff, right? Okay. So, I'll do that, guys, I do real estate investing, right? Yeah. I buy and fix homes. But along with that is, I have a passion for acquiring multifamily deals. Or units, apartments, mobile home parks, apartments, land that I can develop on. So like one of the things that I found hard or difficult, so I'm generating leads in multifamily space. But what I've found is that it comes down to clout, right? Like people want to do deals with people who can perform.
Yes.
And in my local market where I'm at, other investors know who I am. So they gladly bring me deals. Why? Because I'm on social media, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn, where I'm showing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right? So they bring me deals. So that's kind of how I raise money as well. But when it comes to the commercial space, it seems like, or it feels like, and I could be way off, but the more known you are, the more likely other agents are going to bring you deals. And here's a little bit of a perspective, guys, right? 95% of real estate transactions take place with the real estate agent.
Yes.
Or a broker. So like this investing side, yeah, there's money to be made, don't get me wrong. And it's competitive, sure, but only 5% of transactions take place from investor or buyer to directly to the seller, to the homeowner or property owner. So I find that in the multifamily, you gotta be known where an agent feels comfortable presenting your offer and saying to the seller, hey, this is a very viable buyer. We vetted him, or we know that he does deals because they see us working in the field. Yeah. Excuse me. So help me a little bit there. Like, how would I go about targeting commercial real estate agents?
So,
and I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but you're the expert.
It's fine. All right. So how would you target commercial real estate agents?
Yeah. Like essentially my aim and my goal is, hey, I want to bring in as much traffic to me, and I mean to the brand, which is Amit Darji, right? Like, there's a business, there's a company, sure, but the brand itself should be able to garner and require attention. That's kind of what my goal is and my aim is to do.
Right. So that's a good question. So I would figure out what do real estate agents need to bring you deals? Like what? Because like if you're just showing up on social media, right?
Yeah. And
you're just like this investor that purchases multifamily properties, what would incentivize them to bring you deals over anybody else? So I would start there.
Okay.
I would just try to reverse engineer it as much as possible, because I'm trying to think if I'm talking to other agents to get them comfortable to bring me deals, I have to you got to put out certain content that revolves around that. So maybe it is you kind of put out similar content where you're like informing the consumer about just what goes on in a multifamily project and everything like that, and then along the way agents also see you and be like, oh, like this guy knows what he's talking about, maybe he could close on this deal that I have right now, or whatever the case is. You get what I'm saying? Because I think it would be a little hard to just like, calling out all agents, I have multifamily, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it would be a matter of informing just your audience, period,
right, on
your specialty of buying or acquiring multifamily units, multifamily properties, and just get people more acquainted with just kind of like brand awareness, like get people more acquainted with understanding that's what you do.
So one of the things that I started doing a lot more of is filming or capturing content when I'm acquiring, right? So
I'm saying that.
I realized like, okay, people need to know what it is that I do and what I do aggressively, right?
Yes.
Like, I mean, that's my livelihood. I haven't always been the biggest fan of social media, because there's two sides of it, right? One is you're going to be either a consumer or you're going to be a producer. And I found myself a lot on the consumer side, right? I mean, and it wasn't really until watching you and how much growth you got, and then just getting around other people who are very heavily into utilizing social media to really generate leads, that I realized the power of it. Now, don't get me wrong, there can be instantaneous success, things that go viral, but I'm looking more at it from a long-term play, right? Just essentially brand awareness, and so kind of nailing that down. And part of this the reason for this podcast is to help people that they can do it too, right? Bringing you on was, hey, there's people probably starting out, like they're probably worrying about like, man, how am I going to generate leads? Like, how am I going to do this? I don't have a lot of money. Like YouTube is free. Yeah, I mean, there's AdSense and you can spend money on it, sure, but ultimately you can grow it organically.
Yeah.
So I know I've watched you do that. So that's been really remarkable.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got avatar, we've got niche focus. What's next?
For your YouTube channel?
Yeah, what's YouTube specific? I mean, we're gonna go deep into YouTube.
All right, let's do it. So you find out your avatar. First you find out your niche. You find out your avatar. Then now it's time to start. Granted, thinking that you already built out like the your YouTube channel as far as like your YouTube banner, all the other like technical stuff, right? You don't want to spend too much time on that anyway because it's not a revenue generating activity, RGA, right? Keep it as simple as possible. All right, so after you get that. Now you want to start curating content. You want to start putting content together that you're actually going to start to film. So you have to have, I think what's important is to figure out what level of consistency that you're able to dedicate to YouTube. Because if you're not consistent, it won't grow. It's funny enough though, after you do start reaching some growth, you can like take a little step back. Like my YouTube channel is still growing even though I haven't posted as much the last like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, you have to be consistent. So whether it's 1 time a week, 2 times a week, or 3 times a week, you need to dedicate yourself to posting, one of those 3.
So I want to add to that, or I guess, add to that. And that is, if you're just starting out, your goal should be 1 time a week.
At minimum.
Just at minimum, do 1 time a week, because what will happen from that is you'll build repetition. You'll gain confidence in yourself, right? Getting in front of the camera, doing whatever you have to do, and that persistence. It'll start. What'll start happening is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Lillian. It'll become secondhand nature to you.
Yes.
Like, oh, I didn't film.
Yes.
Or like a lot. Like it'll become instinct in you. Like I gotta film content. I gotta create the content, so on and so forth. So yeah, I 100% agree with you there.
Yeah. So after you kind of figure out, all right, you're gonna post 1 time a week, right?
Yeah.
So you start curating content. Like you need to essentially batch your content, right?
Okay.
So you figure out, okay, I'm gonna post about this. I'm gonna post about that. I'm gonna post about this. But you write down like exactly what the topics are, the titles.
Yeah.
And then you gotta figure out a day that you're gonna record all in one session. Because if you start to record like 1 video once a week, like it's just not efficient. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was doing that.
Yeah.
I was just doing like 1 video a week, and then like I always felt like I was behind on what I had to do, and then I had hired people to break the content down and edit, and I couldn't keep up with them.
Yep.
And then it was just like okay, and then like being in all of the shoes, it kind of, or being in all the seats in my business, I had to sacrifice, and I was like, all right, well,
bottleneck.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, so it's best to definitely batch out your content. So you want to do, let's say if you're going to do 1 video a week, you sit down for 1 day and you just record all 4 of those videos, and you want to do that once a week, right? So if you record 4 videos, four videos in 1 day every single week, you'll have in a month you'll have 16 videos, right? So when it gets to a point where, because there will be a point where you do miss like a day of recording or whatever the case is, you have that backup of multiple videos to go out for weeks to come. And that's what happened with me, where I was like, okay, like I'm gonna be recording all these videos, but there was a time where I couldn't really record anymore because I was like, I think I was out of town or whatever the case was, but I had a bunch left to upload. As of recently, I didn't have that many because I had to go like 2 or 3 weeks without being able to like record. So it was a long time. But ideally, you want to have a backup of videos all the time. You want to have your video library always like backed up with multiple videos. So if you spend the time to record all in 1 day, it's really, really efficient. Plus, like, to set this all up, you don't want to, I mean, you probably have this set up daily or whatever the case is, but Like,
I gotta break this down.
You gotta break it down. So imagine breaking all this
This
stuff.
is my wife's area. I gotta break this down.
Oh, man,
you know, this has gotta stay tidy. So
you need a dedicated area. But like to set this all up. And
it took time. It took me almost an hour to test the mics, test everything. So efficiency is very important here.
Yeah, and you do that one time for one video. Like that's just not efficient. You know what I mean? Like if you could bang out 3-4 videos in one recording session, so much better. So you want to get all your content organized. You know, I personally write out my scripts. Just because it's easier for me to focus on what exactly I need to talk about. I have tried doing like the bullet point thing. Mm-hmm. It's a little harder for me.
Yeah. I like that. I like the bullet point. Here's why.
I can see you liking the bullet point.
I like bullet points because I've been doing public speaking since high school. When I was class president.
You seem very comfortable.
And what I found over the time is, and this, guys, this is not about easiness. This is about preparation. Okay, and Lillian's preparation and my preparation. Here's what I mean. Like the reason why I do bullet points is because I preach in church, right? Okay. And it's hard to give a sermon when it's scripted.
Yeah, you can't.
So because it's like the Spirit of the Lord, right? Yeah. So what I found is like as long as I understand and grasp the meaning, the content of what I'm trying to express, if I have my bullet points, it just keeps me organized as to where I want to go.
Yes.
Whereas for me, when I script it all out, I'm very monotone. Like I don't have an ability to control my tonality. I just stay, because I'm so focused on reading that I can't add my own personal emotions, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, some people can, obviously you can, but no, I personally like bullet points. It just kind of.
No, I've noticed that in my videos too. Like some videos are definitely like some of my earlier videos are definitely a little more monotone, because you are focused on the words. Now, granted, I do also like bullet points when I'm presenting in front of like a live audience. Oh yeah, bullet points. Like I'm not scripting anything out, and I feel much more comfortable and different when I'm presenting in front of people, even if it's a webinar or whatever the case is, versus like when I'm reading off of a camera, like when I'm just me and my camera. I don't know, it's just like weird. It's like hard for me because at least I feel like I'm kind of having a conversation when there's people there. Yeah. So it's easy for me to just talk, but like when I'm talking about like if there's like when I'm doing my YouTube scripts, I don't know, it's just easier for me to just read it off a script.
Yeah, and guys, this is part of like there's no one set way, right? Like for example, this what I'm doing here, this is a kind of a few-fold thing, right? We're vlogging this out, so this is going to be content for YouTube. We're recording the audio separately as well, so it's going to go on the podcast. And this is all going to get chopped up and utilized on different platforms. But I realize I like to have conversations.
Yes, me too.
So when I decided to do this, I'm like, all right, I can do individual shows, fine. But I know it's way more valuable for people who are listening to have somebody on and to have a conversation. Because you can. It's like two minds are better than one, right? If I say something, a light bulb might go off for you, or vice versa, and then we can expand on it. So I definitely like that. So no, 100%. Like planning it out, being effective and efficient.
Yeah.
How about like day? Like, is there a specific day that you typically like to like sit down and record all these videos that you're doing?
Yeah, so my days are usually Saturday.
Okay.
But now it's
Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday morning.
I'm trying to get out.
Yeah, no, I knock it out in the morning from like 9 a.m. to like 1. I'm
really?
Recording. Yeah.
Wow.
So I try to knock it out. But now it's gonna be Friday mornings and Saturday mornings.
Okay.
I'm trying to put out more content.
How about the prep work? So you're banging out the videos Saturdays right now. But how much time are you spending prepping, like scripting out, researching, and homework and stuff like that? So
yes, there's a whole pre-production process to it. So you definitely have to spend time. Like you're an expert in your field, right? Yeah. But experts are always learning.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So if I want to talk about, I don't know, mortgage rates or something like that, like I know what's going on right now, but I'm still gonna spend time to research. So what I'll do is I usually spend probably like, if I need to research stuff, I'll probably spend like a half hour researching the topic. Just reading different articles, understanding other people's different perspectives, looking at stats and everything like that. And then I'll script, right? So I'll script for like, and it's a process. I'm not gonna lie, it's not fast. So I'll script for, if it's a good script, will take me about an hour.
Right.
Right? Sometimes it takes me even longer.
Okay.
Might take me an hour and a half. So think about it. Research in half hour to an hour and a half of scripting, right? And then consider, when you're actually creating that video, the video might take me a half hour to record.
Yeah.
So two and a half, an efficient video, 2.5 hours from pre-production.
So guys, so let's put that into perspective, right? How long would you say majority of your YouTube videos are? Maybe like 10 11 minutes? So think about, she's spending 2 to 3 hours
at minimum
for literally let's just call it an 11-minute video.
Yeah. And I'm not editing it now, so you don't
right.
You don't
so
count
you don't count
exactly,
right. So, and I know you have some stuff in your book. I want to actually dig into that. But guys, here's why that's important. Yeah, I know on the face value you're only seeing an 11-minute video, but look at the effort that's being put in to create that 11-minute video that could be very high level beneficial for you as the viewer to see. Like, I think people underestimate, I certainly did underestimate the amount of prep work that was needed when I did it, because even though I can speak and I'm comfortable with it, but is what I'm saying important?
Yes.
Like, is what I'm saying going to help somebody?
Yeah.
Anybody can get on here and just talk about
whatever,
blow air, right?
Yeah.
Blow smoke in the air kind of thing. But you have to really ask yourself, like, is this going to really help somebody?
Right, exactly.
And if it's not, then just turn the camera off and you might as well just not even worry about it. Like, that's kind of how I looked at it.
Yeah.
Once I did a few, I'm like, yeah, this is bigger than just getting on a camera and talk about a few points. Like, there has to be value for somebody to say, I'm going to click this video and I'm going to watch it. Yeah, especially watch the whole entire
video.
thing.
Yeah, like I'm going to take 10-15 minutes out of my day to watch your video. If somebody does that, then they're into what you have to say, and that's the whole point. That's how you build an audience, by giving that valuable information that they want to hear.
Yep, I agree. So you got prep work. Now, obviously it takes a lot of time, right?
Yeah.
Are you using any softwares or anything like that to kind of help you kind of process the time a little bit faster or anything like that?
Not really. Nothing crazy. I mean, when I'm scripting, I'm using Microsoft Word.
Okay.
For my teleprompter, I have, an app that I put on my phone, so I'm able to read it off my phone. No crazy software to help me.
Kind of the scripting process.
Yeah.
That's just like the hard work or the grind in it. You just kind of have to do it.
Right. And honestly, so my last couple videos I made that they were just bullet points, but it just took me longer to do it. I tried to do bullet points because the great thing about bullet points is that you write out your script, or you write out your outline.
Yes.
A lot faster.
Yeah. 100%.
Whereas if you're writing it word for word, the pre-production is going to take longer because you're writing it word for word. But the caveat is I'm able to get through the video a little bit faster because I have exactly what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So it's
a lot less edits.
A lot less edits.
So for me, that's the other side of the coin, because I have more edits because I'm kind of flowing.
Yeah.
So I found that, but I will say that I've found as I've done more, I know the mistakes that I was making. So now I'm aware of those mistakes.
Right.
And guys, mistakes aren't bad. Trust me. There's nothing wrong with having mistakes, but it's just like if you have a brain fart and you just kind of pause and you got a 30-second pause, nobody wants to sit through 30 seconds of nothing, right?
Right.
But yeah, no, I 100% agree. Like as you do it more and more consistently, you become more aware of the things that either you're editing out or if you've hired an editor or something like that. No, I agree with you.
Yeah. So.
But all right, so what about people who have full-time jobs? A lot of people, can't say, hey, I'm going to quit my X amount of salary job and just do YouTube for a living.
Yeah.
Again, remember, it's a long-term play on the bigger scheme of things, or the bigger view, right?
Yes.
Short-term success is there, but people who are working, what are some recommendations you can give to them?
So if you're working, are you working and trying to become a YouTuber, or are you a real estate agent? Give me some.
We're going to talk about real estate. Let's just say you want to focus on real estate, being an agent like you are.
Okay. So if you're a real estate agent, you want to get on YouTube, and you have a job, you have to at least, like you said, at least one time a week. One time a week is very, very, very doable. So you want to spend your time obviously figuring out what content that you need to post. So the important thing will be to batch all your time and but batch like what exactly that you have to do. So batching the content that you want to post and then recording it, and batching that too. So you got to pick a day. Same thing. You got to pick a day. Figure out exactly, coming into that day, knowing exactly what you want to record, and then focus on batch recording your content. If you can batch record your content, you can definitely be on YouTube. And if you're going to be an agent and that's your only source of marketing, so like it's a give and take, right? If you're a real estate agent, like for me, I was a real estate agent. I didn't have a job. So, if you have a job, you have your needs being funded. Your job is funding your needs, right? So everything else needs to funnel into like your business, right? Marketing and everything like that. But you got to pick if YouTube is going to be your only source of marketing. That's perfectly fine because your job is supplementing your ability to live. You don't need to like hurry up and close the next deal. Of course, everybody wants to close a deal as soon as you become an agent. But
Correct.
If you have your job to kind of be your little cushion for a little bit, you can focus on just building out the YouTube. So if your YouTube is the only thing that you're going to be doing to market, you can absolutely spend time researching topics, coming up with content, and recording your content. And I honestly think that's like a really great way to go. If YouTube is your only source of marketing and you already have a job for your income, you can really dedicate the rest of your time to marketing on YouTube, and you can afford to take some time to have the leads come in. Because like you said, it's long term. So I would expect, like, don't go crazy if you don't get a lead within the first couple months. Right. Like, go the first 6 months without expecting anything to come in. You're most likely going to get something, but don't expect anything crazy to come in.
I agree. I just focus on what you're delivering, and the rest will kind of set itself in order. Right? Like, don't focus so much about the metrics, the numbers, how many views, this, that, and the other. And kind of going back to what you were mentioning about niche and avatar, just start in your own backyard, right? Like, if you've lived in a town for, 5-10 years, well, I mean, clearly you've been around in your town. So, and there's things that are happening in your town. Maybe holiday parades, holiday festivities, events taking place. Just talk about it, and when you go, film it right now. And then when you present it, when somebody's thinking of moving to town, someone's thinking about moving to Philly, well, there's so much content that Lillian is creating that they're gonna naturally like, all right, let me just watch it. I mean, this is like, Lillian Philly girl kind of thing, right? Like she knows, like Lillian is Philly, right? I mean, like that's kind of how it gets. That's how you start getting that recognition, and people start watching. And remember, if people are watching, the numbers, the views may be a little bit low, I guess, what you may compare to. Definitely. But those views for that town might be what you need, right? So that, again, you have to be realistic about the metrics. Like, if you got 1,000 people just specifically in your town watching, you have 1,000 eyeballs thinking about you.
That may be all you need.
That's exactly.
And that's what I put in my book, right? Yeah. I was like, especially as a real estate agent, you don't need 1,000 people. Right. You don't need 1,000 clients. Like, you know what I mean? You only need, at least for one deal, all you need is one. Exactly. And that one can turn into 5, 6, 7 based on referrals and everything like that. But being on YouTube as a real estate agent is kind of like, it's such a great thing because you only need a couple people to really generate a livable income for yourself. I've seen that.
I've seen it where I always say, if I can get one person, that means I've gotten 10 others. Yeah. Because that one person naturally, just amongst their family and friends, they will refer you to 10 people.
Yeah, if you do a good job,
yes,
they sure will.
100%.
They sure will, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I love it. I'm just like, man, like, my channel only has, I think I'm getting up to 1,500 or 1,400 subscribers. So that's not a huge channel. It's a very small channel. Now, a lot of people don't hit 1,000, so I'm gonna, gas myself up a little bit. Yeah. But it's a fairly small channel, but the amount of business that I've generated from it is like crazy.
So, tell us a little bit about that, like your timeline, your perspective, like how things have changed. Because I know when you first started, from doing the traditional investing, like mailers, cold calling, whatever, right? To then now doing this YouTube content that you're constantly doing. How has your business transformed? Are you like getting a decent amount of leads where you're like kind of like, yo, I got to think about like hiring people?
Absolutely.
So
so let me tell you. So this is where you come in, because you're really good at growth, right? So my problem is now, and this is a great problem to have when you become a real estate agent, is now I have too many leads. Like I literally can't service all the leads that I have, and it's getting to the point where like, oh, I'm supposed to call this person. Like I have literally 3 people waiting for me to call them.
So hold on, let's put this in perspective. How long ago did you start YouTube?
March. Like consistently posting about
March of last year or this year?
This year.
So March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Guys, that's 8 months.
And the influx of leads came within the last like 2 months.
So
like 9 months. So I mean, six. So that goes like months. You just said. Yeah.
You give it about 6 months.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm at the point where I have to expand because I have way too many leads, and I literally can't do it all by myself. Kind of going back to what we were talking about before, as far as like what makes sense for you to spend your time doing and what doesn't. So, you know, and we were talking earlier off the air about like, you know, building a team and everything like that. So it's definitely a good problem to have, and yeah, it took me about 6 months to get to this point. So imagine if the average person who's working a job, they only focused on YouTube and was like, all right, you know, I'm gonna continue to let my job feed me while I work on my YouTube channel. 6 months down the line, I might start to produce enough business that's gonna alleviate me from being at that job anymore. But you do have to put in that 6+ months of work initially.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm at the point where I need to grow. And
you got to fire yourself out of positions to help your business go, because the last thing you want is the business outgrows you.
Yes, that's how people go out of business.
Yeah, like I'm starting to get there, right? Like not going out of business. Never gonna let that happen. Yeah. But no, I'm starting to become the bottleneck, right? And I'm just like, all right. Like, we're just gonna hire people. Yeah. Like, there's no other way around it. Like, I should not be in the field, like, on job sites. Like, that takes me away from growing the business.
Yes.
Getting more leads, getting more deals, right? Like, we have a goal. Like, today's, November 26th?
Yeah.
Before the year is over, I want to grab another 10 more leads. Like, deals, not leads, deals. Like, closed, signed, paid for deals, right? Like, that's the goal. So, when we go into 2022... we want to have 20 projects running.
That's a lot of projects.
Yeah. So there's no way I can manage though. I'm spread thin with 4 going on right now.
Yeah. You can't be on site.
I can't. So we're implementing we're beta testing some new virtual stuff. Okay. Once I have some more, I'll bring you back home. We'll definitely go through that. Cool. But yeah, no, we're beta testing a few things. But no, so how about like naming your channel? You know, like we talk about preparing, setting up, you know, who to go after, what kind of audiences and things like that. But people get hung up on the little things, right? Like, you know, paralysis by analysis. Like, what should I name my channel?
So
I did it. So
you did it?
I did do it. I mean, I probably spent a good 5 days thinking about what I should name my channel. And at the end of the day, I just, you know what I realized? Like, I can come up with all these names, but the crux of it is I'm the brand. Yeah. Right? So it's just my name.
Yeah, so it goes back into search engine optimization. Depends on what you're looking to do and what you're looking to get from the channel. I think the channels that are named with like your name, like my channel is my full name. I have another channel. I have 2 other channels actually. But it depends what you're trying to do. So like as a real estate agent, what I've seen is really, really successful is naming your channel based off of SEO. So like living in Philadelphia or living in Dallas, like whatever the case is. Wherever that area is that you service, you make a channel around that. Because when somebody's typing, so SEO is basically how you appeal to SEO is you gotta think of it like this. What would somebody be searching that they would find your video? So if somebody's searching living in Philadelphia, I'm most likely gonna pop up. Again, with wherever you service, you want to include that area in the channel name. Okay. So it's really as simple as that. Now, again, with the whole, if you're gonna name it your name, that's more so for brand purposes, but you can still be successful with that. But again, you know, if you're gonna service a specific area, it might be beneficial to actually name your channel around that area.
Gotcha.
So those are the 2 options that I put in my book that, you know, you should consider naming your channel. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you do use the name, if you use your name, one thing you could do is you could put a dash after it and put what you do. So like when you start to comment on other people's channel and other viewers see like your comment, they see like your name and a dash. Like my YouTube channel is Lillian Chukwueze dash real estate agent and investor. So they know exactly what you do.
Right.
So that's another way you can.
Yeah, I had mine as Amit Darji real estate real estate investing. And then I think it might still be that. No, then I changed it just to my name. Like, all right, like I'm just gonna keep it my name and let's just go. Because at that point, I was, like you said, I was like focused on metrics.
Yeah. What
name is gonna get me more views and all that. At the end of the day, I'm just like, forget all that. Let's just provide value, and we'll take it from there. Like we'll make adjustments as we have to.
Yeah.
But like, you just gotta go. Take action and just go.
Yeah, it's better to start than to just get caught up in the whole analysis paralysis.
Another thing I want to talk to you about is, what about like equipment, right? Like,
okay.
Like I mean, there's so much technology out. You have all these DSLR cameras, mirrorless lenses, and the bokeh effect, the backlighting, and so on and so forth. So like, what do you recommend in terms of equipment to use to film and record and things like that?
So everything you have here, I wouldn't recommend it. To get started, like this is fancy. I don't even have this stuff. To get started, I think the more equipment that you think about, the harder it is for you to actually get started. So it's cliche or typical, whatever you want to call it, but get started with your cell phone. There's still some recent videos that I've done, not super recent, but like a couple months ago, that I was filming with my cell phone, my iPhone. I do have a DSLR, which when I set it up, I'd much rather use that, but it's not necessary. And if you do want to use a camera besides your phone, you can pick up a $500 camera that'll do its job. You know what I mean? So you don't want to like break the bank, because the more you start to think about all these different things, the more they become like barriers before you start. And you want to start as soon as possible. Like getting caught up in everything else, like that's not what's going to help you. What's going to help you is putting content out there. Even there's plenty of YouTube channels out there that has like ugly video, whatever the case is, but they're still successful because they've been putting out the content consistently. Granted, you want to have a high quality, but it shouldn't be in replace of you actually posting. Yeah,
I know, I agree. I mean, my stuff is a little, maybe I guess overkill, but
advanced.
I have a tendency just to kind of go all in. Like if I'm going to do something, I'm just like,
I'm just like you. I'm right there with you.
We're just going to do it, and we're just going to go in and do it, and that's it, right? Like I had actually last year in November bought a course to go into social media. But again, I had to sacrifice, like, am I going to go make YouTube videos? Am I going to get these projects finished, right?
Yep.
But I went to this conference recently, and the entire panel, they generate 95% of their business from social media. Like, guys, you're talking, like, we're not talking about cold calling. We're not talking about sending out mailers, you name it, right? Whatever. Emails. No, we're talking about social brand. Like one guy showed me his inbox. So he was on I talked to him before he went on stage.
Okay.
He was on there for 30 minutes. He got off the stage and he had 299 messages on his TikTok of people bringing him leads so that he could buy their deals or to work with them. So he has a coaching program too. And I'm just like, he's like, he went as far as completely cutting out, like he dissolved his marketing phase in his business. He's like, I when I looked at the bottom line, I was only making $5,000 more by having a marketing team. So I'm like, why am I going to spend all this time managing them just to only make $5,000 more? So I'm like, he got rid of the whole marketing department. Yeah. And his social brand just generates all his deals and leads. So I would say the gist of it is just start, right? Like just use your cell phone, whatever, get started. And as you get started, just like start adjusting. Like if you need to get stuff, then get it. But just start out, get going. I mean, like for example, like all this setup that I have, I don't use it for Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I literally use my cell phone. Yeah. I only have this stuff for specifically like when we're doing podcasts or actually the YouTube show, right? That we're just going to go on. The goal is to take that content and like kind of chop it up and distribute it.
Yep.
I guess killing as many birds with one stone is kind of what the thought process.
That's another key when it comes to content. Is like be creative. Don't just use one piece of content for just one platform.
Right.
Or like you can chop up so many things and get out so many more pieces of valuable information to your audience. So the way you're doing it as far as like using the video, getting the audio, having multiple clips from the long YouTube video, like that's why YouTube that's also why I started on YouTube or started to push YouTube more, because I'm like, all right, if anything, I will always have content that I can pull from to post on these other platforms. Because one problem that people find hard is like, okay, what platform do I use, and like what do I post, how many pieces of content do I post every day? And it's like, well, you may not even have to, if you have a YouTube channel, you don't have to think about all these little sub pieces of content. Like you already have, if you have a 10-minute video, you pull out 3 clips from the 10-minute video, you have content for all these other platforms. So you always have content.
Yep. Okay, so how about like, times of days to post and things? How often should we post, things like that?
So people ask me this a lot, and I'm just like, there is no specific, there's no specific answer for that. Typically when people ask me that, I'm like, you're not even posting once. Like you're posting like once a month. Like, so you're worried about the wrong thing. Like you need to post enough in order to get the data to then make that decision as to what day is best for your audience, what time is best. Like we all have different, I guess algorithms, but like our audience views our content in different ways. So like your content may be best, noticed by your audience on Saturday afternoon versus my content. My audience may be looking at my content on like Friday night. Most likely not, but you need to post enough in order to get that data, because it's like any other like marketing strategy, right? Like you need to do it enough times in order to see what the feedback is. Gotcha. And then you're able to adjust, So the first thing to do, don't worry about the day and time, just start posting consistently. Whatever platform it may be, post. Every day. Every day. If it's Instagram, post every day. Then figure out, okay, my audience views my post at this time best. I'm going to post this time. For
me, what I've done, because consistency was an issue, I'd wake up, between 4 or 5 o'clock, I'd wake up, get myself together, and before I got started doing anything, I would post on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Right, I would just get it out the way, just so I can develop a habit of posting. So I've just literally just started recently doing that, like probably the last 2 weeks, like just constantly being aware, like, hey, because the whole point is to get mind share, right? Like people to think of you as that person for this type of work or whatever it is that you're interested in. So that's something that I've tried to do. Is just get up, knock it out, and do it. Now you can obviously schedule posts and things like that, but right now the key is, before you try to start automating everything, just
do it yourself.
Just do, one time a day, can you commit to that, right?
Right.
Once you can start kind of building from there, then you can start picking up momentum and steam and kind of making a big dent in what you're trying to accomplish.
Right, yep, you gotta do it yourself first. And one thing I've heard about the automation tools is that they don't work as efficiently. Not that they don't work, but you just get more engagement apparently when you post natively to that content. So like there's a bunch of different like scheduling tools out there that you can use that'll automate your post, but like apparently that you don't get as much traction or engagement if you use those like different platforms.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you're talking about things like Hootsuite
and like all these other.
So essentially it's better to go into that specific platform's domain, like on that site, like YouTube, like go to YouTube and post in YouTube. Like don't use ancillary software to then that software goes and post on YouTube, right? That's what you mean?
Yeah, if you need to, then do it. Yeah. But if you can help it, post directly. Like go into the Instagram app and post. Go directly on YouTube and post.
That's what I've been doing. I'll go to each one, and because it's only just one piece. So it's not like I'm posting 100 different pieces. At that point, you're talking different employees and this and that. How about like as you're posting, right? Like how are you analyzing data? Like are your accounts set up as like personal accounts? Or are they business accounts? Like isn't there some type of different things like that so you can track the analytics that you're talking about?
Yeah. So my Instagram account is actually a creator account. It's not a business. It's not
Okay.
it's not like, I guess, a regular business account.
Okay.
Because when you change your accounts over to a business,
Yeah.
it limits you and your capabilities because they're thinking that you're using it for commercial use.
Okay.
So in particular, like for example with Instagram, I post a lot of like short form videos that involve a lot of music, and since they think in a business account they're gonna think you're monetizing off of it, they're gonna limit you. They're not gonna allow you to use those sounds. So I found to just use a creator account, which is more so like, I guess, brand awareness and just like, you know, it's not necessarily as commercialized as the business account, that I'm able to still access those features. So Instagram, I have a regular, when it comes to like the actual technicality of the Instagram, it's my page, it's just a regular creator account. Now people have asked in a sense of, do you have like your realtor account and then like your personal account? And I'm like, honestly, people like to still see that you have a life outside of Instagram or outside of real estate. So you can definitely combine the two. And I would say to do that because in reality, it's hard to post on two different accounts.
Yes, especially like what you said. If you can't even get one a day, right? Like, I'm with you. I just use I have one account for each of the platforms, right? Like I'm busy enough like just trying to get started and thinking about two accounts. It's overwhelming.
Right.
Just here's I guess the best way to put it. Just go, right? Like you'll figure all that stuff out, but just get started and kind of go.
Yeah, and I even tested myself. I made like a whole separate Instagram page. I was like, all right, let me see if I can post. And I just didn't end up posting on anything. I didn't post on it at all. Like, it's still sitting there. I'm like, people still add me. I'm like, sorry guys, like I'm gonna delete this page because
I met this gentleman. So he has his separate accounts, and now he's trying to change his business. Right, he wants to get into real estate, and he will not post on his other page because he doesn't want to blend the two or like kind of mesh it up. So he's like kind of stuck. He's not taking action on posting about the real estate stuff because he doesn't want to now create confusion and this and that. So he's trying to find a way to kind of transition, right? So that,
And you could do that too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple ways you could do that. I mean, you could delete everything that's already on your page and then like start over, or not even delete it. You can like archive it.
Right.
And then like start posting, content of the new stuff. But you're gonna still have that audience of people for whatever business that he was previously in.
Yeah.
But if you want to keep that page, you just have to allow that transformation to happen. Let the people fall off, because people are gonna be like, "What's this? I wasn't following the Instagram page," and then they're gonna unfollow you. But that is gonna happen regardless.
Correct.
So you just gotta do it.
Yeah. All right. What about people that time is just don't have enough of it? So like, you create this content, you've done the homework, you created the content. Now, what about editing? Like, are you editing all of your own stuff right now? Have you hired people? Are there companies that you can hire?
Yes, I'm a big advocate of Fiverr.
Okay.
Because you can go on Fiverr and you can hire freelancers.
Okay.
To do most of your work. So for me, I don't edit any of my YouTube videos. Granted, I told you guys earlier, I was a videographer. I know how to edit. Is it the best use of my time? No. So I hire, video editors on Fiverr. I've hired people to make thumbnails for my YouTube videos. What else? I delegate like this little stuff that like I do not want to touch.
Okay.
Thumbnails and video editing is something I don't want to touch. I have done thumbnails and it can be very simple if you go on like Canva or something like that, but it's just anything that's just taking more time, I just don't want to do it. So you got to figure out what makes sense for you to like actually spend your own time doing. Yeah. And like outsource the rest. So if it makes sense for you to outsource video editing, then do that. If it makes more sense for you to edit the video yourself, which most times it doesn't, if you're a real estate agent, then
you're busy enough.
Yeah, you're busy enough.
You don't have time to edit, right? Yeah. Like, and here's the thing: if it's not something you enjoy doing, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Like then what's gonna happen is you're gonna look at creating the content requires you to edit, which you may not like. And then you're gonna take that emotion and correlate it to I have to do this because I made this video.
Yeah, you're mentally combining this.
Exactly. So like I have not edited a single video. Like I don't edit anything.
Yeah,
like,
me neither.
I'd rather just post it raw.
Yeah.
Whatever mistakes, than sit there and spend countless hours editing.
Yeah.
I just
And I think this is important to note too. Like, if you want YouTube to be your main thing, maybe you do save up money before you get started. Yeah. Because like for me, I hired an editor like I didn't even wait. You know what I mean? And I wasn't necessarily doing deals right away when I became an agent, but I was willing to sacrifice because I was like, okay, this is gonna be my long-term thing. Yeah. It makes sense for me to put the money, because a lot of 100%. Agents will be like, well, I don't have the money right away to start like dumping into it every month or whatever the case is. And I'm like, that's fine. But you're either going to edit it yourself, or you might find another strategy until you get some money to hire an editor. Yeah. And the editor may not cost that much. Like my editor is really great. Like I get a good, like I pay for a bundle. So you usually get a discount when you pay for more videos. You know what I mean? But you can find editors on Fiverr that are very, very reasonably priced. Granted, you may not get the highest quality, but you need to, you just need to get the message out there.
So I guess what's like some cost that you see, like when you say bundle, like what does that mean? Like 5-10 videos? How long are the videos? Yes. Kind of like
So my editor, so I pay for I believe 12 videos per month for my one editor. Okay. And I'm able to get. I kind of negotiated. Okay. So, but he was around. You can get an editor on Fiverr for around $400 to $500 if you're gonna get that many videos. That's what I've seen. I've also used a video agency called VidChops. They're pretty good too, but I realized I was getting the same quality that I would get on Fiverr, Fiverr was cheaper, so I was just like, I just went with them. But I actually might go back to VidChops just because you get more than one. Like it's a company, so
yeah, that's what they do. So I read the book, and you had VidChops, is it?
Yeah,
VidChops. Yeah. Where they work 2 hours a day on your video, but if one of their editor falls off,
somebody else, you
don't skip a beat. Right. Whereas on Fiverr, you're hiring that specific person, and now if something happens, they get sick, they quit, you're out of luck
until you find a whole other person.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's the difference between hiring an agency and hiring an individual. So you gotta pick and choose your battle. But so I mean, you could definitely get an editor, and then when you break it down, like even if you're paying, like with VidChops, I was paying $600 a month for 12 videos. When you break it down, that's $50 a video.
They were doing thumbnails and everything?
No, they don't do thumbnails. They just do the video editing. Okay. When you break it down, you get $50 a video. You're not gonna get somebody to edit a video for you for like $50. Typically like a one-off video. Gotcha. Because I was in the videography world, and $50 for a video is you don't want to. That's a lot of work to edit a video. Yeah. It's like 8 hours. It could be like 8 hours.
It's funny. I had hired a cold caller on my staff, and I'm always looking to, help people grow and see what their real talents are. So then we got, I always have like weekly meetings, and I was having this conversation with them, and I said, hey, your numbers seem a little low. Like, what's going on your cold calls and stuff? Like, yeah, I mean, this is and I'm okay with hiring people who've never done it. Yeah. I don't mind that. So like, yeah, I've never done it. A lot of my stuff is in like social media. I'm an actor. I edit videos. Like light bulb. Right. So it's like this book Traction. Right people, right seat. Yes. And so I took him out of cold calling and put him in social media.
There you go.
And I think I'm paying him like $4 or $5 an hour.
Yeah. No. You can.
And he edits, like he does the thumbnails.
Really?
He does, at the time I was doing green screen. He does my green screen in the back. All the edits, all the animations in the video, subtitles. Now, SEO stuff, he's not really all that, the titling. So that's a separate beast, right? Yeah, that's a separate beast. But I mean, I was looking at like, man, this is some good stuff, right? And he does it all. So, and then now what happens is he's in that field. So I just asked him like, hey, do you have anybody else that does it? He's like, yeah, I have other people that do this. So now I brought on, I'm actually going to interview them. I'm going to potentially bring them on, because if I ramp this up, which I am, then they can just keep editing videos.
Yeah, and that's what I thought about too. I've actually thought about contacting my video editor, like, hey, do you have anybody else? Kind of like
100%.
You know what I mean? Like kind of 100%. Like having them bring in their own network, helping their own people out, whatever the case is, or helping somebody out, and possibly giving him some type of bonus for that, or whatever the case is, just some type of incentive. to bring somebody on that he does, because he does good work for me. He does solid work at a price that I can afford, and if I could bring somebody else to do the same thing, that'd be amazing.
And he was doing my videos. He was working on for 3 hours a day because he had another job. So he was like, all right, I was like, can you do like 5 to 8 in the morning or whatever? He was like, yeah, I can do that. And he would knock them out. In a couple of days, I'd have everything done. Not only was he doing that, he chops it up for Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
See, I don't have that deal.
He does it. He does all of my stuff.
But you're paying him hourly.
Yeah, I'm paying him hourly.
I pay by the project.
Yes. So I went on Fiverr and tried to do like a per project. Like, I got a quote back. Somebody said $90 for 7 minutes, or 7 minutes worth of content. Yeah. So I was like, I don't know if this is reasonable or not. I'm like, I have a guy on staff that just does this full time. He's like, he just keeps going, right?
Yeah.
And now he says, I can come on full time editing.
Yeah. So that was another thing that we were talking about. That I'm like, do I just hire this guy full time? But I don't want it to be like, because I'm already getting 12 per month. I don't want it to be like less than that. Like, I don't know how long it takes for him to do the videos. So like, if I hire him for 4 hours a day, is he still going to produce 12 videos a month, or is he going to be producing less?
I guess the thing I would recommend to you there is, you're using VidChat, or you've used them already. Yeah. I mean, they can be a backup source, right? Like if this guy does not perform, then you could potentially, use VidChops. And again, VidChops is to get your videos edited. That's it. Yeah. And then all the other stuff you gotta. I know we've been saying the word thumbnails quite a bit. What is a thumbnail?
So a thumbnail is just that original graphic that you see when you're on YouTube. That's the first thing that's gonna capture.
Like a cover?
Yeah.
Like a cover for your video.
Yeah,
right?
a cover for your video essentially. So it's the first thing you see on YouTube. So it has to be enticing for somebody to click on it.
Eye catching.
Yeah, it has to be eye catching. The next thing after they see that is your title. So between your thumbnail and your title, it's got to be eye-catching enough for somebody to be like, oh, let me click on this video.
I guess the best way I can describe it is like, imagine like when you're on Facebook or Facebook pretty much, and you're just scrolling and something catches your eye. Yeah. And then you may not click the link, but something triggered your mind to stop scrolling and just take a second to look at that link or that picture or whatever that thumbnail was. And that's exactly what Lillian's talking about. Like that, you want somebody as they're scrolling through YouTube that, they pause on your thumbnail. Like, this video might be interesting. And then most of the time they'll probably click on it, right? At least check it out for 10, 15 seconds. And that's kind of where you're going to have to catch them. And that kind of takes me to, the next part. Like when you're doing the video, how are you creating like a zero hook? How are you kind of setting that up?
So I put that in my book too. So when I first started creating videos, I didn't really understand so when you're creating videos, you have to kind of understand art of storytelling to keep people engaged. Now I will throw this metric out there just for the fun of it, but the average viewer on YouTube that views a video is 45 minutes. Like it's a 45-minute watch time. Cause at first I was watching my videos, or I was looking at my stats, I'm like, man, I only stay on my videos for 45 minutes. And then I was listening to a podcast and they said these are YouTube professionals. They're like, yeah, the average watch time is 45 minutes. I'm like, oh, okay, great. So I'm right there. Yeah. But you definitely have to understand the art of storytelling. Don't get too technical, but first thing that comes up in your video has to be a hook to definitely get people involved. So it's all about capturing attention and keeping the attention on you. So you definitely have to have a hook. And then right after my hook, I have my intro, just introducing myself and my channel. And then right after that, I get into the content. So that's when I started getting to the meat and potatoes of what the video is about. And then throughout the video, I'll include call to actions, hey, like the video, subscribe. If you're looking for a realtor in the area, let me know, type of thing.
Yeah, so guys, if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe so you can get notifications for more. And we'll drop Lillian's handles towards the end.
So that's pretty much my format, and I kind of went a little bit deeper into it in the book, but you definitely have to have at least those couple parts: hook, intro, content, call to actions, and then your outro. Yeah. So that's kind of my format.
I mean, I know for a fact your book covers all of this, right? Yeah. Where can they get your book?
So they can get my book on Instagram in my bio.
So what's your Instagram? What's your Instagram?
My Instagram is at Lillian Chukwueze. I know you guys probably can't spell that, so
it'll be in the video. Don't worry.
Yeah, guys. and I'll give you the link for the book directly, so you'll be able to get it. But yeah, they can find my book there. Yeah, it's pretty much. I can give you the link in Instagram right now.
And guys, the book is a great read. It flows. I read it in like an hour and a half, I think.
Yeah.
But
So
I took a little bit longer because I was taking notes and I was like really trying to digest things through, because things that she was saying started making me like raise my eyebrow, like, oh my God, like
yeah.
I've been doing it wrong, or like why didn't I incorporate this or
Yeah.
add this piece into my into what I'm trying to do. But
And I
no,
tried
for
to make it to where it's like not too, like you can get through it pretty fast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But still very informational, like
Yeah.
where you can apply things right away. So that was the whole premise behind the book. And like, I think I was telling you, like, if all the things that I wanted to include, like,
Yeah.
I already included a lot. But if I wanted to keep going, I would have
Yeah.
literally never dropped the book.
The other thing that I liked about it is, obviously it's a book, so there's words, but I like that you gave examples.
Yeah.
Right, like when you were showing your viewers increasing, or your metrics and your analytics and things like that, you showed actual data or images and proof from your account that correlated to what you were trying to teach and convey to the audience. So I really appreciated that more, because you're gonna have two types of people, right? You're gonna have people who are visual learners, and then like, you know, reading learners type of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm visual, so when I read and then I saw the pictures, it instantly like
Yeah.
made sense, connected, and I caught it right away.
We're similar because we want to see, like, all right, what you say this,
Or-
what does it translate to?
Yeah.
So that's what I thought when I was going through it. I'm like, well, people probably want to see proof. Like, this is what's happening along the way.
Absolutely. So no, well, Lily and I, listen, I know I've taken a lot of your time.
Oh, it's all good.
I'm probably going to take more of your time as this continues to grow. But I mean, we covered a lot. We covered, you know, why YouTube is so important to utilize. We talked about that it's a long-term play, right? Like, at least give yourself 6 months so that you can really start reviewing data that's coming in, who's watching, how long, things like that, how to adjust. Talked about avatar, right? Like, what kind of clientele, what kind of people are you trying to attract? Most of the time, you're gonna attract people. You should want to attract people that are like you, right? Like, and what it'll do is it'll cancel out all the BS noise.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, definitely creating that avatar, being niche focused.
Yep.
I thought that was very important. Like, I even highlighted it in the book, right?
Yeah.
It's so easy to talk about so many things, but then it's like, what's the saying go? It's like jack of all trades, master of none, right? Like,
Exactly.
nobody's gonna know you for what you really are and what you're really good at.
And I said that I suffered from that before.
Yeah. Right. So that was important. We talked about how to name your YouTube channel, right? Like, not over analyzing it. A little quick tip that Lillian gave was just take your name and then dash whatever your specialty is, right? Like, what are you going to be doing? So we did that. Also, we talked about equipment, right? Like, how important, like, what do you need to use, right? Like, I'll share with you in the bio, like in the description, what I'm using. But most definitely, you're gonna find a cell phone in there, right? Like an iPhone or an Android. One of those two, 100% I'm using, right? So I'll put all that in the description as well. And then, you know, you absolutely broke down like how to set the video up, right? Like talking about the hook, the intro, the body, getting right into it. Like, don't waste too much time in between each segment. Just hit it and go right into it, because you want people to stay engaged in what you're trying to do. And I think something very important, patience. Right? Like, no matter what you're doing, if you're working a full-time job or you're not, just stay patient, stay consistent, just keep going, and you'll see the benefits, right, of that hard labor that you're going to put into it, right? Be prepared for doing the work, the research, the homework, so that you can provide people good value and content. So, anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's it. I mean, the patience is the biggest thing, because it's kind of like real estate is kind of like life, where it hits you in waves. You know, once you're up, you're up. You know, when you're down, you're down. But like, you want to get to a point where you have more ups than downs. And thankfully, I'm starting to reach that with all the patience and consistency I've been putting in. And it's only been, I've been an agent for less than a year now.
Wow.
So, you know, hopefully, you know, the plan is to grow, you know, which I'm doing, but yeah, it's just being consistent and patient. That'll take you further than anything else.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And your network.
Yeah, I mean, and it grows, right? Your network's gonna grow from there, and see
Yes.
that you know, the overarching theme in the last statement that Lillian made is being consistent, and it'll grow, it'll happen. So, you know, that if there's one thing I can leave you guys with is take action, be committed to yourself, not anybody else, and you're gonna get all that nonsense. You know, how to handle negativity. It's in the book. You know, we can go hours and hours on this, but read the book. It tells you how to turn negativity into something positive.
Yeah.
So and that's going to be very important because nobody wants hate. Like no, as human beings, we're not instinctively made to take on hate. Like we don't want to feel that. But there's a way that Lillian describes in the book how to navigate through that, and it is so important that you're able to do that.
And use it for your advantage.
Yeah. Guys, again, the book is titled The Ultimate YouTube Guide for Real Estate Agents to Close More Deals Without Cold Calling. Lillian, I thank you so much for being on today's podcast show. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you.